Okay, and we are live now. Today's welcome to the Crypto Hour. Today is Friday, the 31st of January, and we now had a full week of Donald Trump being in office. So we've had quite a week of adjustment. We just it's going to be like a discovery in a way over the next few weeks, knowing exactly what they are going to do. If anybody is listening to Donald Trump talking and doing public speeches, like unfortunately the speech he gave yesterday after the plane disaster, you will realize that there's two things that are going on. One part that he follows because they give him a script, and you can just listen to guys go and listen um, to just yesterday. It's in the news everywhere. So there's a part of it that he reads, and you can realize because it's like completely monotone, just like a school child is reading a paragraph that's been given to read, and then he goes ad lib, and that's when the fun starts. Okay, and you can see that the guy is completely, yeah, honestly, I believe he's completely deranged, and he'd be probably institutionalized by before he gets to the end of his office. But the point is that this time, compared to the last time in 2016, I think the support is a lot more ready. So the people that he's got around, they are ready they know exactly what the game is, and they can come in for him and make up any idiocy that he wants to talk about, but the decision are being made somewhere else. This is how I see it, guys. Might be wrong or not, but we still have to pay attention to the decisions that they are making. Now, before he came into office, what the main expectations were, and that's one of his big campaign speeches, was that he was going to to put tariffs, and especially on some of the kind of the weakest trading partners. Okay, so he's talking about Mexico, talking about Canada, he's talking about China, and but obviously China is, China bites. Okay, so I think he's gonna be a little bit more careful. But the idea is that the expectations were that there would be a big inflationary period following the application of tariffs. Now, it looks like they are going to be a lot more careful about this than everybody thought they would be. So in a way, we are changing also the expectation. We might go from a period of expectations of high tariffs, high inflation, and so high interest rates for a lot longer, to what it looks like is that we might go through a slower growth, not because of all this, but slower growth because we might go through a period of disinflation. Okay, and if that is the case, what would that mean? It means that, okay, the central bank sees slower growth, so let's see have the need to stimulate the market, and the only instruments that they have to stimulate the markets are either fiscal policy or interest rates. Okay, so at the moment the market is has priced in one cut in 2025. So expectations are that 2025 interest rates will remain above 4%. But what could the surprise mean? So if we went through a disinflationary period, slower growth, so just as guys, to make you realize, I know we're talking about the crypto hour, but this is the economy. It's not just, we can't just look at one thing in isolation. So the way that the markets work, they work on earnings expectations. Okay, so let's say a company expects to have earnings of 1 billion, then the stock valuation is going to be a multiple of that. Okay, now the thing is that what happens then if there is a slower growth, it means the earnings are lower, so you would expect the valuations to be lower as well. So with the stock prices coming down. But on the other point, if we have slower growth and the authorities are trying to stimulate growth, that difference, which is, I mean, the market is already, the earnings growth is been pretty anemic of late. So the growth, the actual earnings are not growing for most companies. They're actually close to 0% and started to go negative. So that's already happening. But you would expect stock prices to follow. But if we start getting more interest cuts than expected, so instead of having one interest rate cuts next year, we have like 3 or 4, that would make up for this slowdown in earnings. And so that would probably cause a kind of like a rally as well in stock prices. But from the point of view of investing, what's the best thing to do? Because, you know, the one thing I'll just show you. Sorry, what I'm doing. Let me share a couple of things. So just tidy up a little bit my. So this is inflation. So if we look at the price earning ratio, the actual stock market at the moment. So if you want to buy the stock market, is at a really expensive price, and the valuations are very, very high. So you are buying something at the top of, you know, the pretty much at the highest valuation is ever been, apart from if you take out the pandemic craziness, this peak here, it's pretty much at the top of its valuation. The European valuations are a lot lower, and they're a lot more reasonable on, you know, for kind of like a long term, on a long term view. So yes, the market might be going up, but it's almost like you are buying something that's already, you know, at a very high price, expecting it to go higher. So the higher this price is, you know, the more risk you are taking as an investor, because obviously, you know, there is a bigger chance of a downturn of a downturn in price. So yes, it could still turn out to be a good strategy for 2025, but it might become pretty risky, especially if the economy starts turning around. So for me, kind of like this surprise that we could see in the market would then point at a potentially you know, a good chance to buy either gold or bonds, although they're not kind of like exciting investments, but they can, you know, in these circumstances, maybe sometimes on investors are not just buying the right thing, but buying away from the consensus, expecting a surprise, an educated surprise, because then, you know, once the surprise actually is delivered in the market, prices adjust extremely quickly. So you need to position yourself, if you do, before everybody sees these surprises. Now, in terms of crypto, what other things have influenced the price this week? Again, what are the economic announcements have had an effect in general, and also on crypto? There were some big announcements this week, apart from kind of interest rates, inflation in Australia keep going down, so maintaining of about 2.5% on a year-by-year basis. The other thing is that we started having rate announcements in Canada, in the US, and in Europe. Okay, so both Canada has reduced interest rates by 0.25%. In Europe as well, has been reduced by 0.25%. The US instead, and that was the big one, especially for crypto, has kept the funds at a steady 4.5%. And that notwithstanding, you know, Donald Trump, you know, taking power and saying, I do expect interest rates to go down straight away. You know, I want it. okay, like a spoiled child. I want that to happen, but the central bank is independent, so it doesn't take instructions from the president. But by doing this, keeping interest rates steady, they are pretty aware that they're still punitive interest rates, so they are stifling growth instead of favoring growth. But at the moment, they can afford to do that because the job market is still quite buoyant, and they have growth in the economy, although not fantastic growth, but the economy is still growing. So they want to make sure that they can control inflation, which at the moment is the thing that is giving them still a little bit of they're not quite sure they've got into the target inflation rate, so they want to still force prices down slightly. What most of the times what they tend to do is that they tend to be too late in the turning points, so they tend to overshoot their targets. And this is why I was talking to you before about possibility of going into a deflationary period, and then being forced to have a kind of a faster cuts than what they were expecting. But this was the big announcement basically on Wednesday at about was that 9:05 at 2 o'clock, just before the opening of the Wall Street on Wednesday. How did Bitcoin react to that? Let's go on to have a look. Where is my coin chart? Okay, as we see, what often happens is that a red Monday is followed by a green week. So this is what on Wednesday we had a jump from 101 to 100 and to a top of about 105, and then it settled at 104, and then prices have been hovering between 104 and 106 yesterday, and today we're standing at about 100 and 104. So although it's not what would have and if the interest rate had been lower, this would have shot up. Okay, and the same for the stocks and shares. At the moment, there's been kind of like an assessment week. As we discussed, you remember what I told you last week? We were up here on Friday. Okay, 105. What did I tell you? What's the biggest opportunity was for the week? That was my target. That was my range I was looking at. Okay, and between 101 and 97 roughly as an opportunity to buy. On Monday we went quite deep into it actually, and then we shot out. So that would have been like the best opportunity to buy this week, and it would have made you a good 5%, with 5% this week. So it's not a bad opportunity. Now, what's the chart telling us here in terms of prices? Is telling us, you see, this was the previous all-time high, and then we had one day on Monday 20th where we went almost to 110,000. But the other thing that I look at is that what's the highest close? So what's the consensus? Because that tells me the consensus. Okay, so let's change the color that. Let me make it red, make it blue. Okay, so this is the highest point that Bitcoin has closed at 106,000. You see how many times now we've tried to go above it, even the day after we tried, and then on 19th, on the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, and yesterday as well. Every time there's been like selling pressure at that point. But the more with every touch, that selling pressure becomes weaker. Okay, and at one point we'll get to one day once we close above this, so above the 106 level, then we will probably then go up and create a new all-time high, because there isn't a lot of pressure up here. Okay, and if we go on to have a look at here, CoinGlass, and this is the liquidation heat map. So we'll tell you which level there are some there's going to be some support or resistance. You can see here on the way down, again, support around 96,000. So that tells you simply there's a bunch of buy orders sitting up here waiting for price to get down to 96. And if it gets that low, then it's going to be like, push back up very, very strongly. And then there's some resistance up here at 107.5, and up at the very top 109, 109.5 and 109.9. Okay, so right at the top of the market. But on top of that, so if we were to break through 110, there's very little here. There's absence of supply. Okay. And the same thing if we went to go down below 95,000, probably will drop quite deep then, because there aren't that many orders waiting below that level. So in that case, then we will go down quite deep and probably below 90,000. But there is more buying pressure than there is selling pressure. Another reason why we had that this drop on Monday is, you must have heard in the news about the new AI Chinese system, which has affected not just crypto, but has affected a lot of valuations in some of the biggest companies on US stock exchange, like Nvidia, because obviously Nvidia produces chips for AI, and now we'll see if this new model is actually completely working. But it looks like that they can produce better results with a lot less resources. So that means that there are going to be less demand for chips from Nvidia and AMD than there have been now, because the model, even Trump a few days ago announced that like this 500 billion or whatever invested in AI, because we're going to be like the best in the world, AI. Like, again, not talking about the range, but it's it's everything he says is about, the US is the best of the best of the best. Okay. All right. So this has caused the price drop, a strong drop in price, not just the crypto, but even look at the S&P 500 on Monday, almost like from 6,080 to 180 point drop. Then it went back up, right? It's just like a quite a big knee-jerk reaction to that, and now we have we are back. So where are we now? We are back pretty much where we finished last week. Okay, so there's been a big drop, then a steady climb, and we're back at where we were a few days ago. So it's been like if you look at it from a weekly point of view, you can see that there isn't much really that has happened. We are pretty much at kind of all-time highs, but we haven't gone beyond that. And what has Bitcoin done? Let me just kind of clean this. Again, this is the end of next week. Actually, Bitcoin has climbed a little this week, although not overall. Are we looking at where we closed the week? We closed at 102.5, and now we are about 104,000. What other news are we getting? So, and again, it's more like what do we hear from the news that can give us a hint about what is going to happen in the near or medium future? Now, a lot of the news are related to institutional investment into Bitcoin, which is becoming, where before, like when El Salvador was doing it, they were seen like a crazy, we have to stop them, etc., etc. Now everybody's doing it. The latest thing is that the Czech Republic, the Czech Central Bank, has proposed to invest 5% of the country reserves in. It's not just Bitcoin; it's like digital assets. Okay, but this is a central bank. This could be the first central bank to actually, of the main economies, to do that. And this is just one case, and this is the first central bank, but there are, there are many companies that are doing the same thing and adding Bitcoin to the corporate reserves. We'll see this. The next one, it's not just the Czech Republic, but Norway's sovereign wealth fund increases exposure, and Norway owns a big chunk of MicroStrategy as well, by the way. So this is becoming more. It's normalizing the asset class, and see as a kind of like Bitcoin in a way. If you see as from the eyes of a crypto investor, Bitcoin is liquidity coming into crypto. Okay, so the more interest there is in Bitcoin, the more this will spill out onto other projects as well. And and also this week we had the green light from the SEC. This is, you see now the change of policy, how it can affect things as well. Now we are likely to see a lot more approvals of ETFs, for example. And now this Bitwise has put forward this a mixed ETF. ETF, they're going to have both Bitcoin and Ethereum in it. And this is the start. So I think by the end of the year, probably we'll see there's going to be plenty of crypto funds ETFs that will not have just one or two. I will have maybe 10 or 20 or 30 different crypto coins in it, because the SEC it's a lot more friendly, will be a lot more friendly to crypto as the previous administration. Now, so this is all talks about liquidity coming into the crypto world. What does that mean though? I don't know which ones are the projects that are going to do well and which ones are the ones that are not going to do well. So this we have to, in a way, switch our thinking from everything in crypto is fantastic, because there are good things and there are also things that are not good, to okay, let's go and have a look. What are the projects that are doing things that people may want to use? Because it's not necessarily that, just because there's money coming in Bitcoin doesn't mean that all of a sudden everybody's going to go out and buy, Pepe or Dogecoin or whatever else, whatever other meme coin that somebody's decided to create. Okay, so and there are examples of this. This is the next one I wanted to bring. It's a case in point. You all know how successful Solana has been. Yeah. So in terms of the token, but here we're talking about the community. Doesn't mean that because Solana has had success, that anything that's created on Solana all of a sudden is going to change the world. But this is a project that was talked about just less than a year ago, which is like a ride sharing app. Okay, that's in similar way to Uber, but to share rides rather than like a single provider. Now the idea, yeah, is good. Sounds like a good idea. Yeah, it doesn't mean there's going to be successful. So after 8 months after they launched it, basically they closed it for lack of market readiness. What does that mean? Because nobody wanted to use the bloody thing. That's the reality. Okay, so they couldn't get people to actually download it and to use it. So it doesn't mean that if you got a good ecosystem, it doesn't mean, and you got something like sound, because you might get over this period, there's now a lot more coins than there were 4 years ago. But over this next year, you will get in your inbox or in things on YouTube, looking at your thing, there's going to be many things that come and ask for your money. And they all sound really good. Yeah, doesn't it look good? This is what we're trying to do, and we're going to do this, and this is a roadmap, and this is a white paper. Guys, these are just PDFs. It doesn't mean that they can deliver what they say they're going to deliver. Okay, so this is what I want to use this, like one of the last slides that we have, we're looking at today, because I want to, in a way, open your eyes and start looking at things with a critical eye. I do it naturally because I'm not because of what I know about crypto, because I'm Italian. And I've been, in Italy, everybody tries to scam you. As soon as you go out the door in the morning. So I've got it built into my brain. I expect it whenever somebody wants money, I think, how are you trying to scam me? That's the first thing that comes into my mind. But it's true though. Many different projects will try to pitch, and it sounds fantastic. Yes, sounds fantastic, but then the reality is this really going to happen? Who are your competitors? Who is already in that, in that area that's trying to, you know, pinch market share, or who you trying to pinch market share from? So how are you going to go about it when there is, this wouldn't have been the first ride share app. So there are already ride share apps on the market. Why should people use a Solana market share, ride share, rather than whatever is out there? Why are you providing more for people to use you rather than whatever is available? And this is just one. There are examples of social media on the blockchain that have been completely unsuccessful because you already have you got Facebook, you got Snapchat, you got TikTok, whatever else. Why all of a sudden go and change for that? You got to give. There must be a strong reason, a strong unique selling point for people to move and do things differently. So if you can show people, if you can have a good project and show people the advantages of moving to a different model, then we might have success, but not necessarily because something is, on Solana, on Ethereum, on Cardano, or wherever else is going to be successful simply because, oh, this is crypto and this is going to happen. It's not true. We still need to consider everything the same way that we will look at a company. I think, okay, before you buy shares in a company, you check them out, and you make sure that they are sound. The same way with them, we need to do that with the crypto and crypto projects. All right, let's look a few more things. Just a couple more things, and then we'll open it to questions. So let's have a look here at a couple of things. Funding rate. Okay, so this is the kind of how much does it cost to borrow, on a particular cryptocurrency. Because, obviously, when the funding rates are quite low, so there is a potential for things to, because it's, what does that mean? If you can borrow, obviously you can earn more if prices appreciate. But at the same time, there is going to be a cost connected to somebody lending you their cryptocurrencies. So if that cost is really high, it means that as a like you trying to trade, for example, it's gonna be very expensive to hold you over the long term. So you're trying to do like short term deals and trades because you don't want to pay high fees. If those fees are lower, it means that you can afford to keep things for longer and then just go for bigger targets. So there is here, when you say funding rate, here, there's a very good tool. There's a funding rate Hitmap that gradually, visually can tell you, how expensive it is to borrow cryptocurrencies. And this is on the left. There are all the different cryptocurrencies, and then the colors will tell you how hot or cold they are. And so you can see at the slider it goes from kind of like blue, dark blue, light blue, green, and then it goes on to the warm colors, yellow, orange, and red, to tell you when it becomes really expensive. So at the moment it's fairly inexpensive. So even if you look at the 1 day, it's not very expensive at all. You look back, this is like the 30-day, 6 months, it becomes, obviously there are, even after say one year, it's not at the moment, we still, so the most of the chart is, and again, we're looking here at the end of this chart, okay? It's fairly cheap at the moment to borrow cryptocurrency. So that tells you that the market is not stretched at the moment. Just at a glance, to tell you the market is not stretched. So there is plenty of room for prices to appreciate from here. When this starts turning yellow and orange and red, then that's when you that's when you want to worry, because it's likely that then there's going to be a correction in the short term, because people can't afford to keep this going for the long term. When I'm talking about when it goes orange and red here, you see like the top here is 150% a year. So you could, if you buy, let's say, if you invest in, let's say, in Bitcoin with borrowed money, and the funding rate is over 100%, it means that to make any money at the end of the year, Bitcoin needs to double. Otherwise, you actually lose money. So this is, you see why this is relevant. You can carry doing it all year if you can borrow Bitcoin at 1% a year. I think, well, it doesn't matter, just 1%, but I'm gonna make a big profit. But if it once starts being 70, 80, 100% and above, you'd say, well, yeah, I can do it for a day or two, but I'm not sure I want to do it for a month or two, because then it means that there needs to be a huge jump in price simply to make anything out of it, and there's a big chance that I can, I'm gonna lose more than I make, So this is an important tool to say when the market is a little bit overstretched, and you can expect for a correction. At the same time, like we are at the moment, it's fairly cool. You can see it, cool colors. Okay, green and blue, it means things being fairly cheap. Okay. Now let's go and have a look at ETFs. Okay, Bitcoin ETF. Again, US dollars. So there's been a slight outflow this week, especially on Monday. There was a lot of people took their kind of money out, because I think the world is ending as usual when there are these knee-jerk reactions. Last week it was quite a big week in terms of inflows. Okay, so 101 billion, almost like 2 billion of inflow. So there was some money went out on Monday, and then again Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Now we have recovered all the lost play. So overall, so far this week, there's been more money flowing into Bitcoin ETFs than out. Okay, and we're now at $40 billion of fresh money. Okay, coming into Bitcoin. Again, now Fidelity as well overtaking Grayscale, and Grayscale will probably fall below 200,000 Bitcoins in the next few weeks. And Ethereum, let's go and have a look at Ethereum as well. Ethereum is slightly different scenario this week. Is still negative. Outflows more than inflows. 140 million out, 70 million in, so about -70 at the moment. So you can see kind of like the attractiveness of Ethereum is not the same as Bitcoin. Okay, so since it started, we had like 2.7 billion of new money flowing in, which is still a positive effect on price. But don't expect that if there are like ETFs about XRP, Solana, or anything, don't expect like huge amounts of capital to flow in these ETFs, because institutionally, Bitcoin is one thing. Anything else, you need to understand a lot more about crypto to trust it. Now, having Bitcoin in your portfolio seems to be the thing that everybody needs to do, in a way. Even if you are like a big fund manager, you can't afford to be out of crypto completely, because the big risk is to be made to look like a fool. Okay, because let's say that you are a fund manager and you are even at the top of your game, and you make 25% for your fund. Well, when you see that somebody else says, well, actually, what about the Bitcoin ETF, and is down like 120% over the last 6 months. Why should I give you my money? You see what it's being forced into being there, because everybody will ask the moment before they give you your money, oh, what about this crypto thing? Are you doing that too or not? And it's a game of having to do this kind of me too kind of thing, whether they believe it or not, because people have got eyes, people read the news, and when you get the IFA coming to advise you on how to manage your funds, you at the very least, you're gonna ask the question, oh, what about, can we put a little part of this in crypto or no? It seems like a good thing. So without going too deep into it, this is like it's the buying pressure, not well, what can I say? The buying pressure that's coming into the institution to provide some solution, some access to crypto. It's snowballing. Okay, and we should see this year more than we've seen it before, because the process that was started last year in like, for example, like a lot of the what's it called, the IFAs, you know, the financial advisors, couldn't recommend crypto products to their customers last year. It's only very recently they have been allowed to, so they could, people that are invested in JP Morgan or something like this, and they have funds with them, they could go and buy it themselves, but the advisors could not recommend it. Okay, now they can, and there is a small army of these guys. I'm talking about tens of thousands of financial advisors. They go and talk to people every week. Okay, so now these guys have got in their armor, they got crypto as well that they can recommend. So the effect of it, it's slow, but it will be a kind of like a compounding effect. There's more and more people are talking about it, more and more people want to know about it. More and more providers are providing solutions because they know that there's money to be made. You know, so just go back to BlackRock and go back 4 or 5 years. See what they were saying about crypto and Bitcoin. Okay, and just, I'm not going to tell you. Just go and look it up yourself and see what they're saying now. Is the future, and is this, and is that, is going to be a better form of money. Because now they can make money out of it, before they couldn't. Okay, as simple as that. So look, it's 20 to 10. So I think is enough for me chatting for one day. Let me stop sharing this. Let's see what questions come up. There's no questions in the chat box. I remind everybody, I mean, most of you are, I can see, have been here a few times. I remind everybody that Jonathan is going to run a Cardano sessions after this. So Jonathan, if you don't mind, just post the link in the chat box. So anybody that wants to go and follow it, know exactly what goes on on the blockchain, rather than just, you know, things to buy and sell. Because you've seen it on YouTube, this is slightly different. These are people that are building solutions on blockchains. In this case, it's, you know, Cardano, but it could be the same if you went to other communities. And you can see then you can get you can understand the process of bringing these projects to the market, and then how maybe if you spot an early one, how you can, you know, give it a go as well, and have and how you can get involved with projects that are not yet on Binance, on Coinbase, on Kraken, but projects that you need to access through blockchain decentralized exchanges to be able to take part in. So guys, any questions? If you want to ask a question, please unmute yourself and ask it, or raise your hand, or whichever way you want to do it. I need to get my throat a little break. Okay. Guys, all these silences and nothing. Come on. No questions. I mean, it's just always surprised, because I'm thinking, guys, you must know everything about crypto. You must know everything about crypto if you don't have any questions to ask. I have so many questions to ask myself, because I'm always trying to learn new things. Eric, go ahead.
recently or last weekend, there was the two new coins from Trump and his wife, and that went into the billions. Where does that money come from?
You tell me. You tell me. Just, I've got no idea. They just think I just like, what, really, really. But the reality is that things like this. Some of it is like traders that think that they can make lots of money in meme coins because really, I mean, so far these coins have got no use, so they're just like meme coins. But the reality is that they brought a lot of funds, new other funds of people that already that play the game, like they buy and sell these things, and you can see that prices go up and come down very quickly as well. But the other thing is that, half of the American population plus has voted for Donald Trump. Whether you like it or not, he's got a following. And some of those funds, not all of them, but some of those funds are completely new funds to crypto could be. And the effect, so it's just not the effect of these new meme coins, but also the effect on the projects that provide the solution. So these coins were launched on Solana, for example. So Solana's price spiked. Solana's decentralized exchange spiked. And so that has had an effect on one part of crypto projects that provide this type of solution. I mean, Solana this year has pretty much potentially they position themselves as the meme coin blockchain. We'll see if over the long term it's going to be a successful positioning or not. Yeah, definitely there's a lot of interest in meme coins this year. Long term, we'll see what that means. But there has been that effect as well. So Solana's price has gone up, prices of Radium and other decentralized exchanges have gone up. So yeah, I would say keep your eyes open because there's going to be a lot more of this going forward. And the one thing that's different this year from 4 years ago is there's a lot more coins around, and a lot more coins that mean absolutely nothing. So what the one thing I can tell you, and this is why I've never really taken too much of an interest in the meme coins themselves, is that we're looking at people that think that they invest in meme coins, and 99.5% of them will lose money. So that's a nice statistic to remember. Okay, but the thing is that you see whenever you go on social media, and even on things like Cointelegraph and places like that, they're full of, oh, this trader turned $200 into 3 million. That's how we did it. And so there's always, obviously, because they look at the price charts of some of these things that went from hundreds of a cent to $2 in about 10 minutes or something like that, something silly like this. But the point is that there's not many people that could have taken advantage of that price move apart from the founders. And that's the reality of it. Because as soon as when there's a coin that has pretty much like no trades and it starts getting some volume, prices change so quickly that you're blinking and you missed it. So it's a really funny place to be in. And personally I would suggest that you look at projects that got some legs rather than something that has got no meaning whatsoever, or sometimes even worse, something that's recommended by YouTubers that generally are on commission. And sometimes there are some good ones. I'm not telling the all YouTubers are bad, but there have been case after case after case that YouTubers have recommended a particular coin and they haven't disclosed that they were getting paid for it. were recommending it, or that they got a large amount of it and they were planning to sell as soon as the price jumped up. So yeah, be careful out there, and I think if you if you concentrate on looking for quality, there's plenty out there to find. You don't need to go and look for I'm not saying rubbish, but kind of moon coins, so to speak. There's plenty of good quality out there.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So they said Jonathan's link is in the chat box for any that wants to go and then join his session. Got another 5 minutes and then I'll stop the call, as I just need to have a little break before we got coaching call going on after this. So any questions, guys? Paul Dine. Paul has Paul, can you, if you're there, what about tokenizing your honey? Hey?
I've sold it all to Paulina and Tyrell.
Exactly. Paul produces some beautiful honey. I've been told. I haven't tasted it yet. That's it. Next time I come, you have to provide me with a tasting a sample.
100%, Luca. 100%.
Okay. Anybody else, guys? I mean, if you don't have questions, then I've can have an extra 5 minutes rest before my calls. But I'm here for to help you guys make sense of all this of all this noise. So please take advantage of it. I mean, what I suggest, guys, is that the more questions you ask, the better questions you will come up with. So don't feel shy when you go, not necessarily on this, but on other calls as well, because no question is a silly question. Okay, so and also if you ask a question, the other people in the call as well will benefit from the answer. So it's not just for you. And there are people that come on this, whether on this call or on other calls from all different starting points. So obviously on this call itself, I know that there's people that are complete beginners, and there are other people that are kind of expert in blockchain technology, like Jonathan. So there is something, there is something for everybody, and we can take questions and answer at different levels, trying to keep everybody interested, but at the same time, trying to answer all the questions too. Okay, I'll go like somebody else coming in right at the end, but so I will do like shall I do a countdown? 10, 9, 8, 7. Now, honestly, if you have another question, ask it. Otherwise, I'll stop the call here and we'll see each other. One little bit of housekeeping. I'm going to be busy next Friday, so there isn't going to be a crypto hour next Friday. Okay, so the next one is going to be in 2 weeks' time. We're still doing the long-term wealth call, because that's going to be on the Thursday evening. So there's no change on that. But I'm not going to be doing a crypto hour next week. Okay, so the next call will be on the Valentine's Day. Is that right? Is that the 14th of Feb? 31st? I believe so. Somebody can look quickly at the calendar. I don't bring up the calendar.
14th, Luca.
Yeah.
Sorry? 14th, yeah?
14th.
Okay, fine. So on Valentine's Day, bring out the hearts and the chocolates. Okay. All right, guys. So have a fantastic weekend. And just bear in mind there is a lot of going up and down as well in Bitcoin. So without looking too far and without becoming a crypto trader, you can take advantage of some of these swings, because especially over the next 6 months, it's pretty much like one directional. So there's some good money to be made out there simply with, just buying and selling once or twice a week, without spending your days in front of the computer, but just looking at it and just looking at the good prices to re-enter and re-exit the market and do it several times. Okay. Anyway, have a fantastic weekend, everyone, and I will see you on Valentine's Day. All right. Goodbye, everyone.